Alrighty. Christine de Pizan, P-I-Z-A-N, born 1364 to 1431, wrote a book in 1405 called The Book of the City of Ladies. I'm in chapter 2, where she describes the desperate depression into which she sank after reading the books available to her by men about women. From Aristotle on, she finds the depiction, description, analysis, and absolute portrait of woman, herself, and her large female acquaintance, above and below stairs, agreed upon unanimously by the great sages, the great males, to be insanely inaccurate. Negative or positive, mostly negative, and even negative when striving to be positive, as particularly Christian scholars do. This translation is by Earl Geoffrey Richards. I recommend. I am only in chapter 2. Her despair seems slightly mocking. She displays great humour, and the prose is fab, but I am mostly interested in this disputing the gods of wisdom, the canon, the patriarchs. She was married at 16, widowed at 23, wrote this book by 40, so she was no cloistered child when she impudently challenged the sages of her civilization. Also interesting, Jan Hus is born in 1369, English Peasants' Rebellion 1381, when John Bull challenges traditional inequality long before and much more honestly than Thomas Jefferson. Personalities, rebels, alternative interpreters of Christianity, not atheists, though the men were excommunicated and executed as heretics by you-know-who. Happily, Christine died naturally. Maybe she seemed less of a threat after all. I had a short education myself and don't remember any reference to or emphasis on these people and their ideas in high school or drama school. I didn't run in the circles who might have discussed them if we knew about them. I remember much emphasis on the guys they challenged, not only an emphasis on their wisdoms, from Plato to St. Augustine to Adam Smith, but the contexts of their thoughts. So I'm not qualified to think that this new lot, this 14th century lot, were intentionally ignored in the hallowed halls. But the fun thing to me is how simple and rational were their arguments, and how contorted those of the accepted wise men. Adam digged and Eve span. Who then was the gentleman, said John Bull. Pretty straightforward. Evidence of its simple truth abounding. The effortful myth-makings of the several supremacies just couldn't compete. So gunpowder became shot, probably. Not the intention of its discoverers. There is no persuader like brute force, and since persuasion is the essence of democracy, we have the democracy we deserve. This era, the late 14th century through to Luther, just over 100 years then, seems very significant to me. More than the Enlightenment for me, whose thinkers were either celibate or misogynist, apart from Voltaire, and I'd be strapped, therefore, to give the rest of their broodings much cred, and yet we insist, don't we? I'm not a fan of the Reformation or Protestantism either, but at least it is a small rebellion, a casting off of chains. But back to Christine, what a breath of fresh air. Where's the movie? We all know the myths she busted, though they still dominate, so we probably think they are still true. Why? That I had never heard of her or the book after 68 years alive says quite a lot. The City of Ladies was suggested as study for Medea, the play that brought prenups into our lives. Both works are as liberating as Baldwin to me, or as Angelou, Mary Renaud, who are all similarly smiling at us with their simple clarity. So rejoice, there is another world elsewhere, at least one. Who will do this today? Who is she today? Brianna Joy Gray? Who throws off the shackles of the assumptions we are loaded with in classrooms, the ones that place us each in our place, the unquestionables that Christine was assured by a vision of a woman she could do without? In her despair, she has a vision. She is visited by 3 magical women, the first of whom tells her they are there because she summoned them. She was deemed ready, the readiness is all. You, quote, you resemble the fool in the prank who was dressed in women's clothes while he slept because those who were making fun of him repeatedly told him he was a woman, and he believed their false testimony more readily than the certainty of his own identity, more readily than the certainty of his own identity, end quote, begin quote. You shun what you know for a certainty and believe what you do not know or see or recognize, except by virtue of many strange, lofty opinions, end quote. There was a moment, I hope, for all of us when, despite the myth that operates in modern education, and by modern I mean hundreds of years, we started to hear our teachers and we said, really? Is that what they thought or meant back then? And you know this how? Because for me it sounds very unlikely, end quote. The moment when for me became a beacon, like Christine, you are skeptical because you are you. And what teacher or priest or prophet claims is true is not for you. To be fair, understanding you is not their job, it's yours. Their job is to make you believe a generality through which you can be controlled. This is not malicious intent, but it is what they understand necessary to maintain order. Only those who have explored and discovered themselves can appreciate and enjoy other discovered selves. It's a bitch. The undiscovered and obedient will hate them forever. So the teacher takes the path of least resistance for the quiet life we think we all want. Competition is not the law of the jungle, and the fittest don't survive. The law of the jungle is understanding, and the fittest lead better lives. Not the same thing.